guys, so today we're checking out a new case from Fractal. This one here, it's the Meshify S2, and here it is beside the Meshify C. So you can see that there's quite a difference in size here. So I'm just going to go over, sort of doing my first impressions, kind of like an overview. Obviously the Meshify C has a build in it, whereas the Meshify S2 here is brand new. So first of all, first thing you'll notice, basically the Meshify S2 is kind of like an elongated Meshify C in a lot of ways. If you looked at them from the front, you would say they look pretty much the same. I mean, the S2 is a bit bigger, but for the most part they look the same. And it's a similar story around the back. But when you look at them side on, you do really see that difference between the two of them in terms of length. And just overall size, the S2 is quite a bit bigger, which is what a lot of people were asking for. So what does that mean? Well, we can already see that with the Meshify C, look at the graphics card there. It's almost touching the front fan. Now that WindForce 2070, I believe, is about 300 millimeters, maybe a little bit more than that. And there's not a lot of room there from it to the front fan. Now these have no additional fans, this is just how it came. So with the Meshify C you just get a single on the front and of course single on the back. Not inherently bad, but you know, more is always better. See with the S2 you're getting twin fans in the front and single fan in the back. Now these are also larger, you happen to notice. Let's bump up the ISO a little bit, there we go. The S2 has 140 millimeter fans, as you can see, by contrast to the Meshify C, see, a little bit smaller there. So that's good, that'll be more airflow. Of course, as I was saying, being longer, it means for the longer GPUs, you'll be able to go well over 400 millimeters if you can find a graphics card that large. It doesn't end there though. Seeing similar in terms of the cable routing, seeing around the sides there, yeah, quite similar. But of course up top it's a different story as well. You can see a lot more room up there, so you'll be able to mount much larger radiators in the top there. I don't believe you can mount a radiator in the bottom of the Meshify C, but with all that room down there you definitely will be able to on the S2. But overall, yeah, it's sort of like a more advanced version of the Meshify C. That's what I'm noticing so far. Now another thing I have to mention is they both have the glass side panel, but the one on the Meshify C has the 4 screws you can see there around the outside. That's a little bit of a pain. I mean, most people don't take the side, you know, the window off as much as I do. But for me as a tech reviewer, yeah, it's a bit of a pain to have to do that all the time. Whereas it's nice with the S2, it's pretty much the same as what you get on the Define. We can also see where the drives will go there. There's a bit of a difference there, so you'll be able to mount more drives. Speaking of which, let's flip these around and have a look at the back side. So on the back, you can see there's a massive difference between both of them. So the Meshify C, obviously a much smaller case, so you can't mount as much there. You can see the power supply down the bottom there. You don't have as much room for all your cable management, everything else. So just have a single hard drive in there, Seagate Barracuda. But if you wanted to run more, that would also be a limiting factor with it. And of course, with the limited space, it always makes cable management a bit harder. Whereas that shouldn't be an issue with the S2 here. You're seeing a lot more space down there, which is good. A lot more drive space as well. So that's nice. Very well done the way this is looking. Like, it's a nice way to mount it. Very good looking. But also they have this. So this is their fan control. This is something they put on the Define R6. And it's a very useful. This is what I actually use in my personal case. So you can connect up all the system fans to this module, and then you just send one to your CPU fan header, and that allows you to just set up all your fans nicely. Like it all just goes through this one thing. It's really useful, and I really like it. And of course you get that with the S2, which you are not getting with the Meshify C here. So that's nice, but overall I would say just the extra room is probably good for the most part. You can see the M.2, not M.2, the 2.5 inch SSD can mount there, which is good, whereas the C here, you have to mount them behind the CPU. That's fine. It's just a little bit annoying. If you want to do anything, change CPU cooler, I mean, all of this has to come off. So it's nicer to have them sort of down here, out of the way, so then you can just easily access your CPU. Cutout wise, they seem about the same. Yeah, about the same size, I would say. So that's good. Always useful for when you're setting up your CPU coolers and all that. You want a big gap on the back there. It makes it a lot easier. And finally, if we look up top, you're seeing pretty normal on the top of the Meshify C here. There we go. You just have restart, headphone, mic, USB 3.0. We go over to the S2 here, seeing similar affair, but you also get the Type-C connector, which is nice, and that's a good addition, especially moving forward. One thing I also have to mention is the mesh on top. So with the Meshify C here, it's just this, if I can get my, there we go. See? You can just lift it up. Whereas this is actual proper plastic on the top here. Metal, actually, I should say. Ooh. So you just press this button. So this is like the define. So you press the button here, there you go, pops up, and you can lift it off. And this is actually separatable as well, so you can just run the filter in the top there if you would like to do so. But this is just a nicer system, and as you can see, obviously there's a lot more room in the top there compared to the Meshify C, which, considering so many people now run big radiators in the top, that's obviously a good thing. Let me just chuck this back in. Okay guys, so that's just been a sort of first look, little comparison between these two cases. So what I will be doing is moving the build from the Meshify C here over into the S2. I think that's always a good idea, and it's what I always like to do when I review a case, is to actually do a build in it, see what it's like, you know, see what it's like to work with, because that's really important, and then I can go from there with my review. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So we'll be moving that build over, and then I'll be able to do a full review on the Fractal Meshify S2 here. So as always, hit subscribe if you want to catch that video as soon as it drops, and let me know in the comment section down below, what case are you currently running? I'd love to know. I'll see you guys next time.